Hello, Shan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for leading this workshop today, Designing Storytelling for Healing. So please introduce yourself and explain what the workshop is going to be and conduct the workshop. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. Sonia is there. Yesterday she
Yes,
was.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm
Oh,
I'm here, Sean.
okay, fine. Um, yeah, I am Shanmuga Sundaram. It's a pretty long name, so friends used to call me Shan. So I'm based in Chennai. Basically, I am an advertising guy, and but for the past 10 years, I've been into training people, especially college students and school students. It's called soft skills and design thinking, mind mapping, and all those areas I've been covering. And storytelling, I've been associated with Eric for a very long time. So my stories are always with my profession also. So those days, in my advertising field, I used to tell stories to my clients to convince them to get orders. Then it slowly started in my training profession when I train the youngsters in between the soft skills programs. I tell them, stories to keep them alive. Otherwise, it will be too technical for them. So that's how I nurtured my storytelling. So anyway, thanks to everybody, and it's a lovely morning. It's at 10 o'clock, and so Sonia, here I am going to start my um, designing of stories for healing. So how did uh, I mean, think of this kind of title? It's a long story, but uh, apart from that, maybe I'll start that my training session. In between, I can tell you that why I'm very passionate about telling stories about how I recovered from my illness and all that. So there is a healing process also involved in that. Okay,
Yeah.
so here it is. The power of designing stories for healing. Normally, if you want to lead people to do something that's never been done before, you have to help them imagine what this new world would like. So from that in mind, I created this slides, and I wanted to start the workshop in that meeting. So I call it, it's a human-centered storytelling. There are many ways you can tell stories. You can tell stories for the kids, you can tell stories for the students and adults and elderly people and all that. So everything depends on the audience. So it's a human centered. So it is not that we have stories in our mind, we have the stories to tell. So that doesn't mean that you forget about the audience and you don't know whom you are addressing to, and you just tell the stories. Sometimes I notice many people just tell stories because they have the passion to tell stories. So they tell stories. So here I am telling you can design stories for the audience you face. So it's a completely human centered. And why I use this word? Because just to think, when you tell a story, to whom you are going to tell a story? You tell a story to the audience, right? But if you want to tell a story for yourself and all that, you can stand it before the mirror and tell stories. So you can enjoy the story. But when you tell the story to the audience, so you have to address to the audience. The story is belong to the audience, and the story should address to the audience. So that's the idea in mind. So I created these slides, and I want to start this workshop with it. So it's completely human-centered storytelling. So the principles of design storytelling for healing. Normally, it would imply interacting with the audience while creating a story, rather than after it created. Normally, you create the story, you already have the story in your mind, and you just tell the story. The audience, sometimes the audience may not relate to it. How do you know all the people in the audience relate to the story? No, you may not. So sometimes it will be boring. So you talk to them, you interact with them, and you find out the audience level. And if you know the audience very well, then you design a story according to them. Then you tell the story. Then easily it relates to that. So that's why I feel is a designing stories for healing. So once you do that, once you design a story to the audience really hear it, then the healing process takes place. Otherwise, it's just a story. So, and normally, this kind of a stories put the audience into emotional position. Since more people are going to relate to that subject, when you tell a story, the audience should relate to it. So that's the kind of storytelling I'm talking about. And how stories are connected with emotions. Normally people say, the emotions are deeply ingrained in the human experiences of the narrative. Yes, it's true. This implies that our brains react empathy, sympathy, compassion, care, and connection. If you don't do all these things, if your story doesn't do all these things, then it's just a story. But your story belongs to this kind of make the audience to react with the empathy, sympathy, and compassion and all these things. Then the healing can take place. So I can give you an example. If you watch ad films, it's short films like 30 seconds and 1 minute ad films or other. For example, I can give you the famous one, Hammam soap. Hammam soap is, just Hammam soap is for, cleaning and, wash out the germs and all that. It's perfect. But the story goes like, the mother, taking care of the child, like, protecting the child and taking her to the karate class and told her very clearly, first you learn the karate lessons. Then the kid asked, no, why I should learn karate? Because you have to protect yourself because of the outside environment. So you have to protect yourself. So the hammam soap protect our body from the outside environment. So this is the message. The story goes. It's a small story, but there is a touch, human touch, the motherly touch, the compassion, how she takes care of the mother. So it goes with that. That's why the ad is very famous. Though it's a very small story. So most of the stories with empathy and compassion and with care, and if it connects to that audience, then it's really the audience can really feel that they belong to that. Then the healing can take place. So any questions or anything you can ask, you raise your hand or you can ask in between also. I have no problem in telling it. So far, what I talked about 5 minutes or something. If you have anything, you can say. Okay, I'll continue.
Sean, I think it was a very apt example that you gave from the world of advertising. That connection is very important, and there are certain brands who thrive for connection, and I'm sure being in the advertising, you will agree. For example, if we revisit all the ads of Bajaj, and their
Yeah,
tagline has been Hamara Bajaj, and it's a family oriented ad. If you
yeah,
look at Lifebuoy's ads, it's all
yes,
germ free. So that's why even if, for example, if you look at Imami as a brand,
yeah,
Imami has been there as a face care, skin care product. Dettol, for that
yeah,
matter,
that's all.
has been like a almost a generic brand for
Yes,
centuries. So I completely agree to this, the analogy that you just stated, that to begin the healing, what
yes,
works is the connection first. So
yeah.
thanks for bringing it yet again.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. And though it's an ad film, but there is a story involved. Almost all the ad films, the advertising fellows, they really touch the heart of the audience mind, and they really put them into that product. Unless the product is with the emotional message, then it's just ordinary product. So definition and sources of a designing stories for healing. Stories are stimulate driven psychological process, as Sony also mentioned. It creates a strong emotional meaning, that they rise from events. Sometimes from the events also the story comes, and also in our stories when we tell stories also. And the emotion is very very important. It's deeply ingrained in human experiences, and how the healing takes place. that what we are going to talk about it. Healing can take place once the narrator brings that emotional part into it. So you can clearly see, for example, I can give you many examples. I can give my personal example so that I can relate it very easily to you. So how I was healed by hearing the stories of arthritis patients. About 20 years back, I was affected by arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed acute rheumatoid arthritis. So I was admitted in the Apollo hospital, and the doctor, told me one story. Still, I remember, and I followed it. So the story goes like that. One of his patients, how she treated herself to come out of that arthritis problem, the joint pain problem. She used to go to that swimming pool and walks from one end to the other end, because her toes and legs and the joints are all so painful, she can't walk otherwise. So she practiced on the swimming pool in the water. See, naturally, the buoyancy of the water takes away that weight, and so she doesn't feel that much of pain. So no, that's a very easy way to practice. So what I did after hearing that story, I became very emotional. So I tried to relate to it, my problem. So then I tried that. I used to go to that swimming pool. I started doing that, and I sit in a swimming pool in the deep water only up to that my neck, and started practicing my stretching out my fingers and toes and all those things. Slowly, I was able to do that. The same way, I tried in my home also. You know, so the pain I was sensing, it was slowly, it was leading. I don't know how, but it was not a medical treatment or anything. Just healing therapy, I can call it. So that story still in my mind. I can't forget it. So now I have been telling people about this story. So to my elders and my friends, and in the classes and many places, wherever I get a chance, I tell people that my personal experience, the how I overcome my joint pains. So that's how you can really solve your healing problem. I mean, the pains and the illness and all that. And another area I would like to talk about is, see, I'm not only talking about the illness and other pains you develop during your time, but I'm talking about your mental pain. The torture and the conflicting thoughts and the stress sometimes you feel. So when I deal with the students, they feel, sir, I'm not good, sir, because I'm not able to get a good mark, so I don't think I can have a good career and all that. That kind of a depressive mind, the defeat mind, they have. So when I tell a story, like, see, look, it's not that, you are only suffering. Many people suffered like that. Many people also, had a very bad marks. But at the same time, you can come over it. Look at the people who shine. So I given a lot of example of some people, like Abdul Kalam and all that, studied in a very ordinary school, in a government school, and but how he, became very successful in his career. So this kind of a stories really put the students into a sort of, healing process. Then slowly his depressive mind, slowly can go off. So that is also very important. So this is what I'm talking about. The healing can take place if the stories are really designed in such a way that audience can relate to it. So in designing of stories, emotions as expressions. Emotion is one of the very vital point here. So given the inseparable connection between feelings and teller experience, like I used to tell about my arthritis problems and all that, and understanding and exploiting emotion is a critical to fully realizing the potential of intelligent storytellers. They can use it as a technology. How they can use it, like I told you, about how I used my suffering of rheumatoid arthritis, and that story. And also I can narrate many stories of my drawbacks, my failures, and all that. So These are the stories. How do you do it? So how do you develop this kind of stories? You have to design stories. You have to design stories in such a way that audience can accept it. You can't just tell a story, something like, well, I'm going to tell a story, please listen, and all that, blah, blah. You can't say. You have to design the story according to the audience taste, to the audience benefit. Then the healing can take place. Then, people can really see the meaning of your story. So then you can really connect to the thing. Examples I can give many examples. See, Abdul Kalam today. See, I used to travel in rural areas for training programs for schools and all that. Many schools, all those school students in outside rural areas, they really, take as a Abdul Kalam as a god for them. It's a really very high level, because Abdul Kalam's story is really an example that how a ordinary person like them, and became a very successful person in India. I became a president of India. So that story is got a very emotional touch, and it's an example. So like that, I can give a lot of an example. So choose your audience. Depends on the audience. Then design story according to them. If it is a college students, yes, you can do according to the college students. You design story based on the college students, especially how they face the interview. Most of the college students have a problem is how to face an interview. So this is what I am talking about, designing of stories. So
Yeah,
once we succeed in that, yes, you have any questions, ma'am?
yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Um, the last thing that you just said, what do most of the college students have a problem with? I didn't get,
In facing an interview,
I'm not getting the word, what the,
when they go for a job,
yeah.
once they finish the college, they go for a job. So at the job, like companies like Amazon and Microsoft and all that, there will be an interview, no?
Yeah.
So at the interview time, most of the students, they may get a well score in technical part and
Mhm.
practical part and all those things. But in the interview, HR interview is the problem for them. I hope you understand. You have any other questions? You're able to get this point, man?
I think so, but I have one other quick question.
Yeah, please.
I'm used to thinking about crafting stories and building a story. I call it crafting a story.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Did you say that you do it while you're with the audience, that it's spontaneous, that you're doing it with the audience and it's not pre-crafted? That I didn't understand.
No, ma'am, this is the beautiful question. This is a really lovely question. The spontaneity, the spontaneous thing, it is very important. See, once you start practicing, like, prepare, you design a story based on the audience, history or audience, what type of audience and all that. Once you start doing it and continue to do for some time, then slowly you can do it in your mind. Then the spontaneity take place. I hope you get my point. You can do it later on in your mind itself. It's something like a mind mapping.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is fix things, and the rest of the words will start coming in.
If I did that, it wouldn't flow. It would be disjointed.
Yes, in the beginning it may not flow. You would have noticed many times, how the public speakers, many public speakers, you give them any topic, the crowd can tell, I want to know this, I want this, and all that. The good public speaker can just pick up things here and there through in his mind. He will not prepare. He may not have time to prepare. He will just, pick up here and there, tack, tack, tack. He will talk, that spontaneity. So
Mhm.
it's possible. That's what I can say. It's possible.
I'm
So,
sorry. I hope I'm not taking too much time, but I haven't heard the audience's thoughts. I don't know the audience, only a little. So how can I craft the story if I don't really
Yeah,
know?
yeah, this is also a good question. Sometimes, when you look at the audience, when you enter that hall, when you look at the audience, you know, you can make out what they are, who are they. You may not know what type of people, but basically you can understand the type of people, like a
Not
middle income group or lower income group, sort of, you can understand.
on the surface, but I
Yes.
don't. But
Yeah,
not
it's a surface. Yeah, by
okay.
practice you can do it. I'm sure we have some politicians in Tamil Nadu. In our place, they just look at the audience and they can just deliver the words. The words will flow, but exactly the words will match to that audience.
Hmm.
So they do
So,
that.
so I
Yeah,
have a comment, a question.
yeah,
So along the same line, it
yes,
is a story. I think what part of how this happens is that it's a story that you know well, but
yes,
you just don't tell it the same way to different audiences.
yes, yes.
So,
That's true.
and also storytellers should do this already in terms of if they're used to telling the story one way and they're getting a lot of responses,
Yes, yes,
positive responses, but with this audience, a different audience, they're not getting the same thing. So you have to listen to what's being communicated to you, even though they're not saying words. Your audience is still communicating with you.
yeah.
That's what I'm understanding from what you're
Yes,
presenting.
exactly. Yeah. See, and also, with your experience as a storyteller, you have a lot of ideas in your mind, right? You already have a lot of stories here and there. So, with that audience response, you can really, bring it out. You can modify in your mind itself. It's possible. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's basically you're saying you're trying to connect with the audience,
Exactly.
and the way you start telling the story, you see the reaction, and
Yes.
you blend the story as per them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a
Exactly.
beautiful talent, actually. Thank you so much.
Yes. You can really have it. It may be difficult in the initial stages. And initially, it's tough. Like mom said, no, it's tough. But once you start doing maybe 3, 4 times or 4 times, it becomes easier. I do that in my college students and all that. I do that sometimes in my classes. Sometimes they ask me silly questions, so I can't answer in a technical way or in a apt way, but I can tell them in a story based way, so that they will understand more easily, more comfortably. So that's what I'm talking about here. So this is what I am, intelligent narrative technology. In fact, you can use it. We can use it. So these are the examples I have mentioned to you. How emotional stories play a vital part in healing. There also, no. See, healing, as I already mentioned to you, healing doesn't mean that the audience or the person, the listener, should have a kind of a sickness or a illness or anything. But he can be a normal person. But the kind of comfort and the kind of a peace of mind once he hears from you, the healing takes place. For example, like you go to a movie, the movie is so good, the movie is so good, and it touches really part of your life, and enjoy it. You are able to relate the story in your life, and you enjoy the story, and nearly about one day or about few hours, you feel what? Happy, right? That's the healing I'm talking about. You were in a comfortable position at the time, right? Your mind is very, very comfort and happy because you have seen a beautiful movie, a lovely story, and all these things. So that's the healing I'm talking about. So the first thing is, attention should be paid to how tellers interpret and appraise events within this interactive narratives. Sometimes, in the story itself, you can ask questions, or maybe you can throw over something like, I hope audience also can experience that. Suppose you narrate a story with the hero is suffering something and all that, or there's some love affairs, love failure or something. You can just throw that thing to the audience, saying that I hope some of you would have experienced this. So that will really put the connection, So then you can continue the story. So this is what I'm talking about. The second one is there is a demand for continuous attention from the listeners. See, the listeners, they want a really thrilling things keep on, the events should be keep on coming. But here and there, if it happens, they wait for it again, wait for you to tell it again. So the listeners always listen for, emotions and, sort of thrilling moments and sort of thing where they can, keep on enjoy the moment after moment story. And the third one is the social cues. So most of our stories, sometimes, it's flat and generally I'm talking. So if the story of your story has some social cues from the characters, then it's easy, for the audience to relate to it. Like, how they suffered in a pandemic, how they, love failures, for example. So most of us would have had a love failures, most of the audience. So that time, when the story, when you narrate the story, attached to that, and they can relate to that psychologically. So these are the areas, I'm talking about. So examples I can give many. For example, there was one movie in a Hollywood movie, Philadelphia. Tom Hanks acted in that movie as a, you know, affected by AIDS. So that movie really created a, big furor in that entire area. So this is what, sometimes the story is so strong, either in the movies or in narrative form or in ad films. The story can really put you into a sort of thing where you can really think about it. And there was a long time back when there was a movie called Once Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you heard about it, Jack Nicholson and all that. So that movie, actually, many parents, suffered. They really, those who had a, like Down syndrome kids and all that, and they were afraid to put the kids into that asylum, put the kids into the hospital or something, because the movie given a clear picture of what would happen in the hospital, in the mental hospital. So in fact, I was told that even the government also changed some laws also to cover up certain things, to take care of the patients and all that. So a lot of things are happening. Love stories from the movies, people can take cues from the love stories. There are many, so everything depends on how you react to that movies and all that. So anybody would like to comment or anything? You have any experience? Anybody would like to share anything briefly so that I can continue further on all the things? Yeah, please.
I'm not totally getting the whole picture, and I'm sorry.
It's
It's
fine.
probably because of it. It's probably hard because of Zoom, and everybody's probably tired.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
but if I don't know, in my where I am now in my life, I've been telling stories, and I
Okay.
got interested because the story helped me.
Okay.
It was a folk tale, and it helped me understand that I wasn't the only one having my trouble.
Okay.
So it was but it was not, um, but it was a very old tale that's it, the mustard seed, and it's in almost every culture.
Yeah.
And it talks about how women are always losing children, and you just have to realize
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you're
Yeah. I
doing,
understand.
yeah. So, um, but it sounds like you're talking about doing it, practicing doing it. but I guess I'm used to having the text or a story that I already love or something that I read that is meaningful to me. Like, so I have joy or
Yeah.
whatever.
You enjoy telling the story. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
So
this is actually I am talking about it. That's fine. What you're doing is really good, great. But what I'm really trying to say is, I'm really worried about some stories are not reaching to the audience.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where I am talking. That's where I am coming into the picture of designing a story to the audience.
yeah,
Design means, there are a lot of things involved. It's like emotion, sympathy, empathy, all these things are involved. So with that, if you build a story, then, you can really get into that audience. So there is a purpose in that. See, when you tell a story, there is a purpose, right? The purpose is the story should reach the audience.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the purpose should be there. So that's what I'm trying to say. So
Okay. Yeah.
stories.
I call it taking care of the audience. So the
Yes,
audience
maybe, yeah, okay. Yeah,
to
you can
say,
use that word. Yes, absolutely. You are right. Okay.
Sean, may I just add to what you were trying to say, if
Yeah,
you
yes, ma'am.
allow me? Naina, right? That's how you call your name? Yeah. Naina, what you're probably saying is absolutely correct, that sometimes as tellers, I'm a professional teller myself, so sometimes as tellers, we need to go with the existing story that is available in the form of a text, real text. What Sean is saying is he might be using the word designing a story, but designing doesn't necessarily mean that we are writing the story right from the beginning. While he works for the advertising, and I understand that, as an advertiser, you got to really design the story depending on the TG, that's the target audience, the target group. So every time you write an ad, or you write a creative, or you work with an agency, you create an ad, you design a story around that communication. But as storytellers, most of us go by the existing stories, and that's why we have huge dependency on the folklores. Because we can tweak and turn and twist the folklores according to our own cultural available and the audience available. So I think the word designing and crafting and taking care of the audience and everything is now used interchangeably here. So so we surely can and must use the existing tales and use the strategy what Sean is probably trying to say from his perspective, that we redesign the existing tale. For example, if I, as a teller, pick up a story from an Egyptian folk tale or a Chinese folk tale, a Chinese folk tale, or let's say a folk tale from Australia, might have used kangaroo as an animal. Now, if I pick up the same story and say it in India, the Indian audience might not even relate to it because we don't have kangaroos here in India. So I will have to necessarily redesign, recraft the piece and change the animal to maybe another one that is at least visible and available and people can relate to that animal. So I think Sean, I just thought that I'll put this point, and I was like itching to say this. I'm really sorry to kind of take this.
So Sonia, I'm very thankful to you. You explained very beautifully. So
Thank you.
I think you are also in advertising field, right?
No, I've been in the corporate world in the field of sales and marketing for
Oh,
good 15, 16 years. So that's why I thought that, and now I'm a professional teller for 8 years. So I
okay.
clearly understand what Naina is coming from. That as tellers, we don't always
Yes.
design the stories. We go by what is available.
Yes,
But
yes,
I
exactly.
love the line what Naina said, that we as tellers take care of the audience.
Yes,
And sometimes we as tellers are just put into the auditorium and say that, okay, fine, tell the story. So
yes,
we still act spontaneous, we still
yes,
act on our intuition. And that's why, as tellers, instead of only connecting with the audience through their body and mind, we also connect with their intuition.
yes, yes.
Shan, can I say a word or two,
Yeah,
please?
please,
Are
please.
you Sean or are you Shan? Because I heard you saying it clearly, Shan. Is it Sean?
Sean.
Sean. Okay, Sean. Great. Good morning to you.
Yes.
You know what I really enjoyed, and I'm relating, I've been wanting to speak to you. This is regarding the students. For students who are applying for the universities abroad or
Yes.
anywhere, even these days in our good universities, we require a SOP, which is a statement of purpose. So when you were speaking about a purpose, you said the students, the way, the whole scenario has changed, Sean, now.
Yeah.
Narrative from a child, when he's writing the SOP, we tell them, we encourage, write a story. So somewhere he hasn't, he in some grade, he was belittled by a teacher, and how he took upon himself to change himself, put it in a story format. So the person who's reading it is convinced that you have the ability to change.
Yes.
So see, the viewpoint of the person who's going to take that student in their college looks at the student with a totally different prism.
Absolutely.
So I really, really enjoyed, and I've been really wanting to talk to you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So then in the film stories, they have the power to influence people. Where the Indian films as well as Hollywood movies are all influenced many people. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, the movies really influenced the audience. They voted the actors and actresses into the power. So that's a different story anyway. So a good story can impact the viewer by sending a strong message. And through storytelling, a film can affect people's opinions and outlooks on life, for the good or bad. Like I can quote many Hollywood films as well as Indian movies. There was one very old movie in Tamil Nadu. It's a Veerapandiya Kattaboman. It's about a very ancient type of story. And the dialogue was very, very beautiful. So this dialogue now used in that particular movie, even today, some of the movies are following that, very powerful dialogues. So it really influences the people. In fact, I noticed about 20 years back, people have started using that kind of a dialogue in a different aspect, to communicate with the people. So what I'm trying to say is, movies, the stories really influences the public life. That's what I am trying to say. For example, you can even watch the Avengers. Today, even my grandson is, he's just about 4 years old, and he is thinking, that I'm going to fight and all that. He's having a shield and all those things. And see, the movie Avengers really influencing the youngsters, changing their idea of what is life. So, good stories, different kind of stories, can really impact the public life. That's what I'm trying to say. So, all the stories emotionally engaged to the point where they want to take part in the story. All those stories are all the public, they really want to take part. The audience really want to take part. Then only, the story becomes stronger, and the kind of movies are all become successful and all that. So in fact, a story that brings strong feelings among audience lingers in mind. I hope many people can agree, here, like if the story is really emotionally strong, it can stay in our mind for a very long time, right? uh, Example, I can talk about movies also. Some of the Hindi movies and all that, very emotional movies, olden days movies, or even today's movies, very emotional love stories and all that. People can remember that stories. At the same time, when we tell a story, when we tell story to the audience, a powerful story with the emotional touch and all these things, definitely that can stay in that mind for a long time. So emotionally infused messages are more memorable. That's what I can say. Not more memorable, actually. So memories are emotional. So anyone have a comment on it? Anyone can go with it? Or I can go ahead. Okay. Then we can have a mind games of Sonia ma'am. How many audience we have?
Sean, we have roughly 25 people, including both of us.
Okay.
24, 23 people, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can have a small game, like I want the audience to pick up a word, see a single word based on some emotional thing.
Okay.
Like, giggling, then, I suffer, some sort of suffering, and this some word, maybe 10 or 20, depends on the time, we can pick up. Then, we can build a story on that. I want that audience to build a story based on the word they selected. So shall we go with that, or how?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I would like to request our audience to pick up a single word. For example, like you can say giggling, then feeling, then suffering, painful. The word should be attached with the emotional thing. So pick up words, and we'll, you know, like a 1 to 10 or 1 to 20. If we have a time, we can have a from 1 to 20, or 1 to 10 if it doesn't have much time. So then, with all those words, we have to sequence. We have to make it as a story based on that 1, 2, 3. It's a game, it's very powerful. This is how you build a story. This is how we learn to build a story. So anybody is interested, they can tell a word to Sonia ma'am, and you can note down in that chart.
Yeah. So, Sean, Shailaja says frustrating. Yes.
Fine, frustrating. Yeah.
Okay. So, Sean, you would write the names of participants and their words. I can read them out to you.
Yeah, or there is a chart is there, no?
Yeah, in the chat box they're writing. Shailaja has written frustrating. Swati has written
Yeah.
happiness.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sophie has written hurt. Eva has written longing. Bhuma has written curious. Okay, we've got like 5 words to
Okay.
begin with. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe if everyone else around can just put in theirs. Naina has written overwhelmed. And so, Sean, just as a quick check, uh, you
Yeah.
want the participants to pick up their word and relate, and then build the story. For example, if
Yes.
Shailaja has to start with a story with her line, uh, and do you want each participant to make 1 line, 2 lines, or how do
No,
you?
I think that would take long time. So what I can say is, if they can see, if they're able to, audience able to see the 10 words.
Yes, we can see 9 words right now. One,
What
two,
more we
three,
can
four,
add?
5, 6, 7, 8 words right now.
Okay, 2 more words we can add.
I can write another one.
Okay. And
Smiling.
distraction, maybe I can give one.
Yeah, I can put distraction here for people
10
to see.
words. So if anyone can bring from the beginning, you should be in sequence, build a story, a small story.
Okay, so you want one participant to take all the words and build a story.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Or would you want to do that, Sean, for all of us to?
Yeah, I'm looking for a very good chart board.
Can you see the chat board?
No, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, it's there on the main chat screen, Sean.
Mm,
Go to the chat.
okay.
Yeah, just next to the share screen, there is a chat. The button, the icon says chat.
Mm,
Are you there?
yeah.
So now I think you can see all the words.
Mm, no.
Sonia, I'm so sorry. Why don't you just quickly type the words and send it to him?
Sean, do you want me to do that? I mean, are you able to view the chat screen?
No, I'm not able to see it. That's why I'm.
No, no. Are you able to view the chat screen? I'm saying the chat window.
No.
Oh, so even if I send it to you, then also you'll not be able, because you're not able to open the chat screen, is it?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
should
I'm
go
not
to
able
more
open
and
the
then
chart.
check there.
Okay. No, let's make it quickly simple then.
Yeah.
Sean, I can give you the words if you want to just quickly write the words.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is frustrating,
Mm,
happiness,
okay.
hurt,
Hurt,
longing,
longing,
curious,
curious,
overwhelmed,
overwhelmed,
faith,
Faith,
Faith.
faith. Okay.
Yeah. Mina the bird.
Hmm?
Mina the bird. The bird. Smiling,
Hmm.
wonder, distraction,
Okay.
and I have a last word also, Betty the butterfly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should be good to go with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Well, actually, I mean, I will do 3 or 4 words only. Then others can continue. Just for an example. So actually, when about 20 years back, my life was quite frustrating. I'm not able to see things, and there was no happiness at all for me those days. And people, when other people, talk about the happiness and all that, I have to, think for it, and I become jealous also because of that. So I started hurting those people, and the others can clearly see that I'm longing for happiness, and because of my frustration, this guy is not enjoying his life. So these are the things I was about 20 years back. So this is how I started. Okay, so you can ask some audience to build a story. I mean, this is an example.
Anybody who feels free or feels like taking the story forward where Sean has left. So feel free to
Or
take the words.
they can do from the beginning.
Yeah, they can even choose to do it from the beginning.
Can I continue from there?
Yes, please, Swati, go ahead.
So, in my hurt and despair, and in my longing to look for happiness, I wandered towards the forest one day. And when I entered the forest, I was curious to know how everything looks so happy and nice in the forest. How the birds chirp and how the animals move around without any hurt or despair, and all the animals have faith in each other and have faith in nature, and they're moving around happily. But here I am in a lot of hurt and despair, looking for happiness, longing for happiness. And suddenly I see the myna, a bird sitting on a branch of a tree, singing happily. And somehow there I have I see my face and I'm smiling suddenly. And I also see that this is happiness, where you can actually sing without any worry in your mind bothering you.
Great.
Thank you.
See, there is an emotional touch in that. There is some learning process also in that. So a lot of things involved. It's a small story. So how did you build this? How did you design this story? Right?
Hmm.
This is what I'm talking about. So this is what in 5 minutes you can build a story. See the audience, see the audience level. See, this game can go on, because we have a very short time. So this game I used to play with my audience in open air. So that's a different issue, But here we have a less time, But very beautifully, Swati ma'am, very thank you for that. And
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
this is how you can build a story in your mind. You don't have to have a background of all those many other stories that you stored in your mind. That might help you also to make a more sequence, but you can build a story similar like this. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about, designing a story. Anyone can design a story. They need to have a little bit of practice and all that. There is a very fun part in this is I noticed youngsters, especially from 6th standard to 10th standard school kids, they just do like this. They were able to do very faster than the adults. Because simple reason, because their imagination is very wide. Their imagination is very wide. We are a little bit constrained. So this is how we can build a house. Simple. See, I asked one of the greatest speaker in Tamil Nadu. I asked him, how do you How are you able to make beautiful speeches and all that? We are struggling. We are also in this field and all that. And he says, everything is in mind. Because I used to pick up only the points. Before I go to meet the audience, I only pick up the points. The points only what, and that points all matter to the audience. So I pick up all those points that matters to the audience. Then in my mind, I sequence, make it as a flow. That's all. See, he is able to do it. Make it as a flow. So stories can be done in that way. Stories can be narrated in that way. So this is what I am talking about. So how much time we have, man?
Sean, we still have time, like 30, easily 30, 35 minutes.
Okay. Oh, then
Your workshop is till 11:30, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
almost 11 right now. It's
Okay, but I don't want
10:55.
to bore the audience also much with my other thing. So my next topic is how do you design a story? So we touched upon a little bit about Swati ma'am already demonstrated we can create a story based on some points, something like that. So when you design a story, that should reflect the audience's longing of for adventure. See, please remember one thing, when you design a story to the audience, general audience, most of the audience are looking for adventure, love failures, and despair kind of a thing. They want some solutions. All those things should be mixed up in that. So when you design a story, all those things should be ingrained into that. Then it makes us a story. So we have to remember that. Then the audience can see that yes, the story belongs to me, the story addressed to me, so I can relate to that story. So they need to create an emotional journey. So when you tell a story, you have to take the audience also along with that emotional journey, and they can be easily connected with you. So this is how you design a story. And if you design your story that doesn't evoke those emotions, then simply we'll be wasting our time. I mean, we just tell a story. That's all. They also, oh yeah, I heard one story. Yeah, that's good. That's all. It's an ordinary story. Everybody says that. Everybody tells. Everybody can tell stories. So if you want to be an ordinary storyteller, or if you want to tell a story with impact, with really put the people into that, something like, when we say, when you ask someone really feeling very bad and all that, he was affected or she was affected, something. When you ask them what happened, and they say, oh my God, my husband treated me bad or my wife treated me bad, something. When they talk, they pour out, right? They just don't say, they pour out from their heart. So you are able to see their emotions, you are able to see their point. Then you can, give a solution, or you can give them whatever thing, and it goes like that. So this is what I am talking about. You have to pour out to the audience. You should not be just a perfectionist. Your story should start, your story should think, the story should have a middle, this character, and the story should end. No, you don't have to be a perfectionist, but you have to be a performer, an emotional performer. The performer should touch the heart of the people, relate to the people. So this is what I'm talking about. So, but if you can take them on an emotional journey, they will keep coming back to you, and they will talk about this to others, and then there is a purpose in it. There is a purpose that you spend some time to this audience, and there is a purpose that, oh, I told a story. Yeah, that kind of a mind you will have. So otherwise, you will have just, yeah, I just told a story. Audience about 25 people. So you want to become an ordinary storyteller, or you want to become a great performer. So this is what I am talking about. So then you become famous, then your stories will be told by others also, then you become famous. So designing stories for healing. So again, I am doing that healing process. So in conclusion, without emotions, our stories would be quite boring, right? You all know about that. If there is no emotional touch in that story, then the story is just an ordinary story. And we can't afford boring, not in a today's world, because today there are so many stories. People tell stories, different kind of stories to get the attention of the audience. So we have to compete with them. So you have to remember that also. So, but be very intentional with how you construct your emotional story. Okay, and carefully craft your story, the highs and lows of your experience or others, or some imaginative stories to deliver an emotionally impactful stories. So this is what I am talking about, designing stories. So along this line, I'm sure you can bring a solace and peace of mind to your audience while narrating a story that can bring the healing process. So here I would like to again repeat what I said in the beginning, that healing is not just only you are solving someone's illness, or you are soothing effect of someone's thing. Healing, I'm talking about other area also, like your mental healing. So people are not clear in their mind. People are really confused in their mind. They have a lot of conflicting thoughts. So our stories, your story and my story, should really heal them mentally. So the healing should take place in their mind, so that you are helping them to see things when they are when their mind is in a comfort and a state of a peace of mind. They can see things very clearly. Otherwise, the conflicting thoughts, they cannot see things clearly, and they continue to have the emotions and all these confusions, and naturally they will be in the stress. Okay, so this is what I would like to say in the conclusion. And please remember, the people we are designing stories for all emotional creatures. Without emotional touch, stories are ordinary stories. So if you design a beautiful story with an emotional touch, I'm certain it will trigger the audience self-healing process, which would naturally extend their lifespan span. So best of luck. And anybody would like to interested to you know connect me. And also in the end, I would like to say this word: every story has an end, but in life, every ending is just a new beginning. So here is my address. If you would like to contact me for any further thing, so you can contact me or mail me. Okay, anything, anybody would like to have any questions, you can throw me questions. I think we have about 10-15 minutes time.
Yeah, Sean, I would like to ask two questions.
Yeah.
You said that we have to connect with the emotions of people while narrating a story, and it has to be, connecting with people. But then, suppose we've done our work, how do we ensure that it has actually done its work? As in, how do we ensure that our story was healing for the people who are listening?
Yes, this is a general question. Many people always ask. It's a good question. So when you tell a story, you pour out, your entire thoughts and all that in the story form with the emotions and all that.
Mm.
What is the reaction you are seeing from the audience? Have you noticed that reaction in the scene? You can see from their face. I mean, I can tell any type of audience. When you give me, and when I talk to them some stories, I can very clearly tell them I'll have to do one thing. I just glance them. I look at the face, and I know that they are convinced. Or so once they are convinced, the healing takes place. If they are not convinced, you can see from their face. But you have done your duty. You have done your best. So.
Mm. So suppose it's not connecting. So do we change the story midway? Suppose we see that there's not,
Yes.
I am not
No,
able to.
of course, the person is not looking at you, or when looking here and around, that person is not. But you have to see the other audience, other people also. So the majority of the people are interested. You go with that. But one person is bad, I mean, not interested, ignore him. That's what normally we do that, right? So
And how, the second question is, how do we make sure that our story stands out? Everybody is making ads, everybody is narrating stories, all of them are emotional. So as a consumer, I might not be interested in connecting to that emotion anymore because I've been seeing all the ads connecting to same emotions:
yes,
family, health, care. So how do we make a story which is different from the others?
you design. That's where the design part comes. You design a story. See, somebody asked you to address a story to an audience of youngsters or elderly people. You know about them, right? Or you can talk to them. Or if you don't have a time to talk to them, you know about them. So you design a story based on their perspective. So once you understand, okay, these are the audience, a middle class level or lower level or all those things, you design a story. That's why I use the word design a story. And Sonia ma'am also explained, others also that what is the design meaning. So the design is something that you can do it in your mind or you can do it in a writing form also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question, ma'am?
Sean, can I just give you another experience of mine, please?
Please.
Because you know what happens? See, from the audience itself, you get a lot of feedback.
Yes.
When you look at the feedback, like for me, my students now on a virtual classroom, on a virtual platform, here are people who are connecting to each other who have not met at all.
Yes.
Now, when you listen to their stories, when you're interacting with them, they come up with such wise ones. For example, we were talking about emotions. So they said it's just emotion, right? Do I need to really feel my emotion, or do I feel better to feel it, or should I be feeling better? Am I in a good, what kind of space am I in? So anyway, we were generally chatting about things when student just came up. Very interestingly, she says, I have been learning how to act. So since grade 7. So what does my teacher, what have I been taught? I've been taught that I should face the mirror and show all my emotions. So I'm facing. So you know what? The learning that I got from that is you become mindful of what your emotion is. So you could be sad, you could be feel like boxing somebody, but you're watching yourself. So what happens even in your audience? I mean, she got maximum claps, and I said, there's so much of learning that one is taking from this class, 17-year-olds, and you're teaching us because it's always growing, Sean. So, I mean, I've taken a lot. I'm so happy attending your workshop. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to add one more thing also. See, the practicing in front of the mirror helps you to, show exact emotions and all that. But there is another learning part I can say is facing the audience, especially in the front row. When you talk about something, see, sometimes, you are totally out of your mind, like you are full of with the ideas, you are pouring it out. That time you may not notice, but if you watch their reactions, based on the reaction, you can change your expressions. They are the mirror. They are the mirror actually for you. So you can change your expressions. Many people, when they tell a story, they feel, I should express and all that. But, when you pour out from your heart, when you tell story, and, automatically your face shows. You don't have to act. Many people don't have to act at all. It shows itself. That's 100% storytelling.
And students are so, they're so attuned to the fact of narrating. Like, for example, imagine this same child telling me, ma'am, when I hadn't known you, when I wasn't attending your classes, that boat of mine had massive holes. And what was I doing? I was actually taking that water out with the bucket. Now those holes, imagine those holes, my boat has tinier holes. So I don't need to take it out with a bucket. I don't need to actually take out the water. So, I mean, there's like you'd say, my God, I mean, there's so much of learning. So actually there is, we have to keep, like yesterday, Swati, I think Swati, you were only saying, we need to be completely open. No, Pankhuri was saying. So yeah, So we need to be totally open to what exactly is happening around us.
Exactly. Yes.
So we need to be receptive. I think that will teach us, like what I can make out, you have hell of a lot of experience behind you. So I think we are really, really happy.
Yeah, you're talking in the sense of a performer, not a perfectionist. Yes.
Love that word, performer, emotional. I love that angle. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other question from before Sonia says okay? Any other questions? I love questions.
Well,
Okay,
Sean,
they can also take.
Sean, why don't you come out of screen share?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
So finally, any questions?
Okay, well, if people are satisfied, we can close the session. Are there any more questions or comments? No, then it's enough. Okay. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sonia ma'am. Okay.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Eric,
Thank you.
and thank
So
you, audience.
we'll close the work.